It's about 10 o'clock at night, and we finished loading the kiln and stacking the door. And we usually try to do that the day before, so we're not too tired for the firing. I've just got a small fire in here right now, and what we're doing, this small fire, its job is to dry the wads out. In a wood firing, because the ash goes through the kiln and settles on everything and fuses into glass, what we have to do is put the pots on these little wads that are real dry clay that won't really accept the glaze very well. And I'm just trying to dry these out. So I'll just start a little kindling fire in here real slow to get this up to some temperature so that when we go in the house tonight, those wads will dry out. Now, when I talk about getting up in the morning, I'll get up at about 4 in the morning and I'll start this again, and I'll start one side, and I'll fire the one side for about 2 hours, and by that time we'll be up to about 700 or 800 degrees, and I'll start the other side at that time, and then we'll start working every stoke. We'll stoke this side, then the next stoke will fire the other side, then the next stoke will fire this side, and go on back like that for the next. This kiln takes about 14 hours. Now I'm firing now with pine. This is just scrap wood. A student of mine, former student of mine, who's my first assistant, Brad Jones. He's got this little company, and they make display fixture. And this is all the little carts in the body and bath shops all over the world are made by this student of mine. And we get all the scraps, and it's pine, which is nice because the pine ash melts into glass at a lower temperature, and it's a neater color glass. When we first started firing this kiln, we used there's a sawmill down the road that had a flooring division, and we would get all their scrap, all kiln dried oak and cherry and walnut and maple, and that hardwood ash is a ash that doesn't flash into glass as quick or as nice looking, and so we fire totally with pine now. And we'll start off the first several hours of the firing with this scrap kiln dried lumber, and then we'll switch to pine logs that are split and dry. And we like to use the logs with the bark on them because the bark breaks down into ash and into glass quicker, and we get a richer surface. So we want to get that bark in there as soon as possible in the firing, but you kind of run into some troubles. In the beginning of the firebox is cooler, so it's easier to get your hand in there, and this little scrap burns good, so we start off with this, but as soon as we can switch to the big pieces of wood, we will. And but at about 4 in the morning, I'll come out and I'll start the kiln up and really start to work on it. And this kiln, each kiln's different. I wanted a wood kiln. I usually fire just my one-of-a-kind pieces in here. My production pieces I fire in the gas kiln. But for the one-of-a-kind pieces, I like what the wood fire does. It's a rich surface. They're potter's pots, and a little more subtle. The accident of the fire, the path of the fire. You'll hear us through the firing. A lot of potters that come out. A lot of people show up. This is a real communal event. We have a lot of people that'll show up. People ask, when's the next firing going to be? They want to come out and see all the fire we have, and there'll be a lot of high school students show up. There'll be other potters show up. There'll be people that just like to see stuff burn. This is a real draw to pyromaniacs. And sometimes we have 4 or 5 people show up. Sometimes we have 30 or 40 people show up. I mean, 127 is about a quarter mile to a half mile down the road. And when we first started a fire, when we burnt so much wood, we'd shoot flames 6 to 8 foot out the top of the stack, and we'd have cars come from 127 down here just to see if a house was on fire or something. And we'd have all kinds of people showing up. But all the neighbors will show up. When I was a kid, his dad runs a machine shop down the road. He's been stopping by for 2 weeks asking when we're going to fire because he wants to see it. See, you can't even see the pots. They're so smoky in there. This is just drawing off so much moisture. Most of this is moisture right now coming off. But by 10 o'clock in the morning, they'll be hard. This is all white stuff. The only stuff will be coming out by morning will be black. When we built this, we decided it would be the laziest wood kiln in the world. The chairs are just the right size so we don't have to bend over to stoke. And we've got a mirror nailed up here on the woodshed so we can look up and see the top of the chimney by sitting looking in the mirror so we don't have to stand up and move.
Was the mirror idea?
If I'm comfortable, I'm not moving. Okay, that's the deal. Yeah. That's probably about it. That's probably about all the fire we're going to need. And that by the morning, this will be nice and toasty, and that'll be dried out. And see, this is all white smoke from steam. And that wood's pretty wet because this has had 5 inches of rain on it. But this kiln runs up and see, I heard that pop. I don't like that pop sound. That may be a wad. I don't think that was a wad, but
Sound like wood.
yeah, yeah. Just want this to dry nice overnight, and that's pretty good then. But it's just, back here it's just so cozy. It is just like a clubhouse. We just sit back here and drink beer and tell stories and hang around and talk about pots and fishing. Caught me a big salmon. It was this big. Yes, that big. He's a monster. Time to be careful when you're as sloppy as I am. Grasping at nothing there. Right. It's a female Mr. Bill.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it?
One thing, you might come back here and take a look at this, Chris. To suck more air, then we'll start with these prime.
How's she doing? I haven't seen her in a while, actually.
I know how to do it. I said, well, go buy the material and I'll lead you through.
What happens is we get a pulse going. The kiln will just kind of start to. It really does breathe. You can, lots of times when it gets going good, when we really get it up, over 2,000, you can hear it. And when it roars, and when it stops roaring, it's basically telling you stick more wood in. And we alternate it side to side because you open them both at once, you're shooting all this cold air in there at once. So we alternate back and forth, and that way you just get this cycle going. And once we get into a little more, it's the same thing. We watch the temperature, and when you'll see it go up. When we really get cooking, it'll jump 20 to 50 degrees each stoke.
depending on how we're going. And then when you start to see it drop or stall or start to drop, then you know you need to stoke again, and that's when you get that pattern going. And it's really pretty easy, because when we first started doing this, we just cram it full, we just pack it full of wood, and we really burned 3 times as much wood as we burn now, and it would take several hours longer and we wouldn't get the temperature. And it's hard to get past that mindset of more wood means more heat, but it's not wood. It's carbon air mix. Wood's just carbon, and so you get that balance of carbon air, and it cooks. This thing flies pretty good. Oh, we hit 12.
Yeah, we hit 12.
Okay. What I'm going to do is that you guys are laying that wood on. So I've got 4 air ports underneath each side. I'm just going to take one of those out. Oh, you can grab, Mike, you can grab the second brick back down on the bottom level. Yank that one out. And I'll yank the second brick back here. This one's already pretty much over. But that'll put a little bit more air under that grate. We want that air to come in above the coals, and then so it's preheating the air, and then it'll shoot it up. And that's how we start to increase that velocity of the air and that breathing of the kiln. The next one we'll take out's the back one, and we'll wait until about 1400 degrees, and we'll pop that back one out. That'll just increase the air, and then to make it suck a little bit more, we'll start easing the damper back, and that'll allow more air out, and it'll speed the velocity up. Right now that flame's nice and soft, and it'll after a while just be roaring through there. Keep going on. That'll increase some air through there. Now we'll get more heat.
No. Yeah. See? Yeah, twits. You got a big spider gooby right on the front of your head. Bro.
I was just seeing if you noticed.
So one door at a time, huh?
Yeah, there you're back semi-human.
We're starting the breathing process.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, you won't start the breathing process because you have gills, but yeah, we start that stuff when one of them burns down. And you may have to let one of them burn down pretty far to get that. So it's about every 4 or 5 minutes one side and every 4 or 5 minutes the next, and that'll start that deal up.
He doesn't know I have it. Oh, so better yet. Yeah. So we're doing the breathing thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
Whoa, that baby we just cut the right size.
Oh, this is yours too. This is a part of a cane pole.
A fishing pole, see? As students that love
You
me.
can do some aboriginal fishing.
Or you can implement this.
He's putting it on his burn pile.
No, I'm just sticking it back there with the personal electronics still,
Okay.
see? Yeah, see, we're getting about 14 now. I think probably, Mike, why don't you go grab that, the last one on the back.
It's like,
Open
I
that
have
up.
worse circulation in my feet.
And that'll give us a bit more air. Hey, we don't have
My
any
feet have been asleep.
ash buildup. We're not even seeing any coals in here at all. So that's every bit of ash is floating up through. Yeah, glove. We open this damper up, we might get a little bit of. So we're starting to hear that breathing that I'm talking about, and within another hour, we'll see. We're at about 1400 degrees now. Within another hour, we'll start to see flame coming up past the side of the flue, and that flame's getting longer and longer all the time. We're just getting more available carbon inside the kiln, and
burning up through there, but you can see the little particles of ash floating up through there, and within another couple hours you'll see on the shoulders of some of the pots, you'll see little dustings of ash on there. That's where we'll get the glass buildup. $1,000 sign-on bonuses. If you're a nurse with even a year's experience, you can get $1,000 sign-on bonus. Yeah, yeah.
Gold?
Yeah. See, it's not. I opened the flue a little bit so we don't have as much back pressure as we did before, and the atmosphere is a little bit cleaner. I can see through there. Before, when I had that flue shut a little bit more, it was a lot cloudier. So it's a little bit more efficient burn, but you can still see these long tongues of the flame. It's a pretty long flame looking through there. So we get lower temperature. And you can't burn it for anything else. You can't burn it in a wood stove because it creosotes up and you have a chimney fire. So there's lots of it around us. All these old pine windbreaks are all diseased now. So you go along and you see these pine windbreaks and everyone's chopping them down because they're all diseased. So there's tons of trees to be had because they're hauling them away. And Airsville to pick up snowmobile seats for us. This is really pretty nice. Oh yeah, this is good. Sides, and you can see around the flue, we're starting to get a lot of flame come up around the flue, and you start to see the flame right about up this high on the inside is the opening into the flue bottom chamber of the chimney. Well, it's not that high, it's about this high, and so we're starting to get that flame drug clear up. It's starting to go up around the flue, and you can really start to hear that roar now. And this is about the time it starts to get more critical to hear how the kiln breathes, to get that its cycle of the fire to want to pull that air in. And we'll be able to hear it over by the primary draft holes when we open those up more, when we want to increase the velocity of the air a little bit more. And what this does, when we get this velocity going through there, we get this pressure and this roar. By adjusting the flue, by adjusting the primary air, we can pull those long flames to different parts of the kiln. Right now, the lowest spot in the front by the bottom door is cold. So by damping this down, it's going to throw some back pressure and back some heat down into that. So we'll do that. Since we've got a nice pretty good thing, I'm just going to put this in a couple inches and it'll back some of that pressure up. Now how we can tell is that when I did that, it really, the flame started jumping a lot more back out of here. So that shows we've got that back pressure, and so that'll help push that flame, that pressure, that heat around the inside. And that'll help even it out some. But in an atmosphere like this that's really murky and a real reduction atmosphere, we won't get temperature rise as well. But it'll help even the heat out. And then when we want to increase the temperature again in a few minutes, what we're doing now, we're at about 1600 degrees, what that barometer says. We can start to do a body reduction. And what the reduction means is that you've got more carbon in there than you can burn efficiently. And so for the flame to stay alive, the flame's actually penetrating the clay body and the glazes and burning the oxygen out of those. And this is where you get color change, where, say, a copper glaze, it would have copper carbonate or copper oxide. Copper carbonate's CuCO3. Well, the oxygen in that chemical is copper carbonate's green, and it's a really ugly green. But if we burn that 3 oxygen molecules off of that, it turns red, and you get these really neat copper reds by burning that oxygen out. So by reducing this down, the flame to stay alive has to find oxygen other than in the air, and it's doing it out of the chemicals of the glaze. And so that's where we get that nice toasty brown clay body. That's where we get, so the reduction atmosphere, we're taking the oxygen out of everything else. All right, we're starting to lose the back pressure, so we can probably stoke a little bit now. But just a little reduction like that every once in a while will help even that temperature out and even some color out.